You know, you sent this case over, and it's really stuck with me. The murder of Amber Berbiglia,
Oh, yeah.
and it's especially haunting thinking about how her wedding was just weeks away.
Right.
I think this deep dive is going to be really tough, but I think it's important we unpack what happened in South Carolina back in 2019.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of those cases that starts with like almost no clues.
Yeah.
And then as you go through it, it just slowly reveals this disturbing pattern of behavior, the
Yeah.
kind of details that make you question everything you thought you knew about someone.
Yeah. So we know Amber was only 28 when she was found dead in her car, left on this isolated road on June 14th.
Hmm.
And the brutality of the attack, too.
Yeah.
Blunt force trauma to the head, it just makes it so clear this wasn't an accident.
Right.
So given such a seemingly random violent act, what did investigators initially focus on?
Well, I think given the lack of an obvious motive right away, they understandably focused on Amber's personal life.
Yeah.
Her fiancé, friends, family all became central figures, not just because of their grief, but because they held potential pieces of the puzzle.
So it was like investigators were working with a blank canvas, basically.
Yeah.
So did any of the source material that you provided give insights into specific forensic techniques or challenges they faced early on?
One report you shared actually mentioned the challenges of like working with a crime scene in a remote area.
Oh, right.
Contamination control becomes even more critical.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It also discussed the importance of trace evidence in this case.
Right.
Fibers, hair, anything that could link Amber to a potential perpetrator.
It's fascinating to me how even the smallest detail can become a crucial piece of evidence.
Absolutely.
So we have this seemingly happy young woman about to get married, brutal attack, no clear motive. What direction did the investigation take from there?
Well, while the initial assumption was that this was a crime of passion,
Mm-hmm.
evidence soon suggested that Amber was targeted.
Wow.
And that obviously raised a whole new set of questions.
Yeah.
Was this a case of mistaken identity? Or was there something more sinister at play?
From what I gathered in the source material, the case went cold for months, and then there's this sudden shift, the arrest of Stephen McDowell, former co-worker of Amber's.
Right.
That must have been a huge turning point.
Absolutely.
How did this connection come to light?
Well, McDowell was actually one of the last people to see Amber alive,
Oh, well.
which initially didn't raise any major red flags.
Right.
But as investigators re-examined witness statements and timelines, his alibi started to unravel.
Oh.
There were inconsistencies in his story, gaps in his timeline, that actually placed him near the crime scene
Wow.
around the time of Amber's death.
That's where good detective work really comes into play.
Yeah.
They were able to connect the dots that others might have missed.
Mhm.
So was there a specific piece of evidence that sealed the deal, so to speak?
One of the articles you provided highlights this seemingly insignificant detail that became crucial.
Oh.
A tire track. Investigators found a unique tread pattern near the crime scene,
Oh, wow.
and it matched McDowell's vehicle perfectly.
Oh, no.
This physical evidence, coupled with the inconsistencies in his statements, made him the prime suspect.
So from a former coworker who seemed inconsequential to the prime suspect, that must have sent shockwaves through the community.
Oh, absolutely.
Everyone who knew Amber was probably trying to rack their brains, trying to figure out, what did we miss?
Yeah, what did we miss? How did we
Sure.
not see this? It went from a whodunit to trying to understand the why behind such a horrific act.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier that investigators suspected McDowell's motive might be more than just a random act of violence.
Right.
What did they uncover about his relationship with Amber?
Well, it turns out McDowell had developed an obsession with Amber.
Okay.
And when I say obsession, I don't mean a simple crush.
Right.
The reports you shared, they detail a pattern of stalking behavior,
Wow.
unwanted advances, and an inability to accept Amber's clear disinterest.
That's chilling.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, what are the warning signs that someone is crossing that line from admiration into dangerous obsession?
That's a key question.
Yeah.
One red flag is possessiveness.
Okay.
McDowell constantly tried to monitor Amber's whereabouts, her social media,
Oh, wow.
even who she interacted with.
Right.
He wanted to control her life, her choices.
Yeah.
That kind of controlling behavior should always raise alarm bells.
It's like a slow erosion of someone's freedom and autonomy, often disguised as concern or care.
Exactly.
You also mentioned McDowell's inability to accept rejection. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, rejection can be a really powerful trigger for someone like McDowell, who already exhibits obsessive tendencies.
Okay.
In his mind, Amber's rejection wasn't just a personal setback.
Right.
It was a threat to his entire worldview.
Oh, wow.
This kind of thinking can escalate to violence when someone feels they have nothing left to lose.
Reading through these sources, it's clear that McDowell's obsession was fueled by a sense of entitlement. He felt he deserved Amber's affection, regardless of her feelings.
Right.
It's a disturbingly common thread in cases like this.
You're right, this sense of entitlement often goes hand in hand with the distorted view of reality.
Yeah.
These individuals create these elaborate fantasies in their minds where
Right.
the object of their obsession reciprocates their feelings.
Okay.
When reality clashes with that fantasy, the consequences can be devastating.
It's heartbreaking to think that Amber might have sensed the danger, but felt powerless to stop it.
Yeah.
The source material mentions that she did try to distance herself from McDowell, but he became even more persistent.
Right. That's another tragic aspect of these cases, this escalation of behavior.
Yeah.
Often attempts to set boundaries or distance oneself only fuels the obsession further.
Right.
The individual feels their control slipping away and they react with increased intensity.
Like a vicious cycle that spirals out of control.
Exactly.
This case really underscores the importance of recognizing the warning signs and taking action early on. What advice would you give to someone who might be in a similar situation or who knows someone exhibiting these red flags?
The most important thing is to trust your instincts.
Okay.
If you feel threatened or unsafe, don't hesitate to reach out for help.
Right.
Talk to a trusted friend, family member, or seek professional guidance from a therapist or counselor.
Yeah.
Remember, you don't have to face this alone.
Right.
There are resources available to support you.
And for those who might be concerned about someone they know, what are some concrete steps they can take?
It's crucial to have an open and honest conversation with the person,
Okay.
expressing your concerns without judgment.
Right.
Encourage them to seek professional help.
Yeah.
And emphasize that you're there to support them throughout the process.
Yeah. I think that's important.
It's also essential to familiarize yourself with the resources available in your community, like
Okay.
domestic violence shelters or hotlines, so you can provide practical assistance.
It's about shifting the narrative from one of silence and shame to one of empowerment and support.
Exactly.
Amber's case tragically highlights the devastating consequences of ignoring these warning signs.
Absolutely. Her story serves as a stark reminder that we can't afford to be complacent when it comes to unhealthy obsessions and the potential for violence.
Yeah.
It's a call to action for all of us to be more aware, more compassionate, and more proactive in creating a culture of safety and respect.
We've talked about McDowell's obsession and the warning signs, but there's a larger context here. The societal factors that contribute to violence against women.
Right.
Did any of the materials you provided delve into this aspect?
One of the research papers you shared explores the link between media portrayals of romantic relationships and the normalization of stalking behavior.
Oh, wow.
It argues that certain tropes in movies and TV shows where persistence is equated with romantic pursuit
Right.
can desensitize viewers to the harmful realities of obsession.
That's an interesting point. It makes you think about how subtle messages in our culture can contribute to these issues.
Right.
Did the paper offer any solutions or suggestions for countering these harmful narratives?
Well, it emphasizes the need for more nuanced and realistic representations of relationships in media. Portraying consent, respect, and healthy boundaries as central to romantic relationships
Right.
can help challenge the romanticized view of obsession and stalking that's often perpetuated in popular culture.
It's a reminder that we need to be critical consumers of media and challenge harmful stereotypes wherever we encounter them. Yeah, it's a reminder that we need to be critical consumers of media and challenge harmful stereotypes wherever we encounter them. This case brought up a lot of difficult emotions for me. What struck you as most impactful as you were going through everything?
You know what really stayed with me was the profound sense of loss.
Yeah.
Amber was on the verge of this new chapter in her life,
Right.
filled with love and happiness, and it was all taken away in such a brutal and senseless act.
Yeah, going through the material you shared, there were so many photos of her, smiling, vibrant, full of life. It's hard to comprehend the pain her loved ones must have endured.
One of the articles you provided featured interviews with Amber's family and friends, and they described her as someone who lit up every room she entered, someone who brought joy and laughter to everyone she met.
Wow.
It's a testament to the kind of person she was, and it makes the tragedy of her loss all the more profound.
It also reminds us that behind every statistic, behind every headline, there's a real person with a story,
Right.
a family who loved them, a future that was stolen.
Absolutely.
It makes me think about the ripple effect of this case.
Right.
How did Amber's death impact the community?
Well, the impact was profound. There's this sense of collective trauma that lingers long after the headlines fade.
Right.
This case shattered the illusion of safety in a small town,
Yeah.
forcing people to confront the reality that even in seemingly idyllic communities, darkness can lurk beneath the surface.
Did any of the sources discuss how the community responded to the tragedy?
Many of the articles you sent highlighted the community's efforts to honor Amber's memory.
Okay.
They organized candlelight vigils, fundraisers to support her family,
Oh, wow.
and even established a scholarship in her name.
That's amazing.
It's a way for them to channel their grief into something positive to ensure that her legacy lives on.
It's a reminder that even in the face of tragedy, there's resilience, there's community, there's a desire to find meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
What do you think Amber's case teaches us about the broader issue of violence against women?
It underscores the fact that this isn't just an isolated incident.
Right.
It's a systemic problem rooted in deep-seated societal norms and power imbalances.
Yeah.
We need to challenge the culture that allows violence against women to persist.
It feels like we're at a crossroads.
Yeah,
There's more awareness than ever before, but there's still so much work to be done.
absolutely.
What are some tangible steps we can take to create a safer world for women?
Well, education is crucial. We need to teach young people about healthy relationships, consent, and the warning signs of abuse.
Right.
We also need to hold perpetrators accountable for their actions and create a justice system that truly protects survivors.
And it's about empowering women to speak out, to know that they're not alone, that their voices matter. Are there specific resources you'd recommend for anyone listening who might be struggling with these issues?
Absolutely. The National Domestic Violence Hotline provides 247 support for victims and survivors of domestic violence.
Okay.
Their website, thehotline.org, offers a wealth of information and resources, including ways to get help confidentially.
I know you also mentioned the National Sexual Assault Hotline. How can people connect with them?
The National Sexual Assault Hotline is available 204/7 at 800-656-HOPE-PEACE.
Okay.
They offer support, information, and resources for survivors of sexual assault and their loved ones.
It's crucial to remember that help is available and no one should suffer in silence.
Absolutely.
If you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, please reach out. You are not alone.
Your safety and well-being are paramount. Don't hesitate to seek help and support.
As we conclude this deep dive into Amber's case, I'm left with a mix of sadness and determination.
I understand.
Sadness for the loss of a young life, full of promise and determination to honor her memory by working towards a future where tragedies like this become less and less frequent.
It's a future where every individual feels safe, respected, and empowered to live a life free from violence and fear.
Thank you for taking this journey with us.
Of course.
While exploring a tragic case like this is never easy, it's a reminder of the importance of awareness, empathy, and action. Let's all do our part to create a world where Amber's story serves as a catalyst for positive change.
Let's remember her not just for how she died, but for how she lived, with kindness, joy, and an unwavering spirit.
Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep striving for a better tomorrow.